Hey guys, this is July 19th, 2022, and I'm outside under my favorite tree. Um, I want to jump on just for a few minutes and talk to you guys a little bit about something that's been brought to my attention. It's about children and the elderly. Now, um, Morgellons and the children and the elderly. Now, I know that the elderly uh, have been getting Morgellons. I work with the elderly, and I've seen a lot of the elderly with Morgellons. And I have to tell you that with the elderly, you have to treat each individual differently. You cannot do the same thing for one that you do to other. And you have to, because you have to, first you have to know their situation, you have to know their health care needs and all that. You have to, everything has to be analyzed and judged real, real close, okay? But and now, obviously, from what I've been seeing and hearing, there are a lot of children now that are are being getting sick with Morgellons, breaking out with sores on them. I know I ran into one lady who said that her children had sores on their arms and their backs and their legs, and she thinks it's Morgellons because she says they've been to the doctor, and the doctor diagnosed them with eczema, but she said the treatments that the doctors are giving them are not working. Like they're giving them like cortisone creams and some kind of itch solution, and I, she said what they're getting from the doctor is not working. Okay, and she said she also thinks that herself and her son have got Morgellons. She said I've been researching it, and I've been watching your videos, and I'm pretty sure that it's Morgellons. And she was asking me what to do for the children. I personally have not seen a lot of children who have Morgellons. Like I said, I've seen a lot of elderly, but I've not seen children who have it. And this is heartbreaking because to see the little children breaking out with Morgellons and knowing that they're having to suffer through this awful, horrifying illness, it's just heartbreaking for me to see this. And the bad thing is, like I told her, I said, I can't give you advice on how to treat your children. I just can't. I mean, that's a delicate situation. That's a whole new ballgame there. I can't go there because, first of all, um, children, you have to treat children and elderly different than you do others. I mean, because children, first of all, you got to know the child. You got to know how sensitive they are. You got to know how they react to certain situations, how they react to stress, how they react to being sick. And I just can't do it. I said I can't give you advice on how to treat your children, but I said I can suggest a few things, but I don't really I don't really even feel good about doing that because you know your child better than anybody else. And if you've kind of like given up on the doctors or not getting any help from the doctors and you want to turn to alternative medicine, I mean, I told her, I said, I would suggest that you look into maybe taking your little girl to maybe a holistic doctor, you know, or naturopath, and let them look at her and maybe give her some herbs, some natural herbs um, to treat it, because I don't think that you could treat a child the same as you would an adult that has Morgellons. I mean, I don't think that a child could stand the strenuous tub treatments every day, and I don't think they could stand the torment that comes with the Morgellons. And I mean, I think it would be okay to give them the Epsom salt bath, but I would be real careful about that. I would maybe just not use a whole cup of Epsom salt, maybe cut it in half, or just use a little bit. And Same with the baking soda. It'd be okay to do that. I think that would be safe for a child. Um, but I would not give them anything internally because I would be afraid, how they would react to it. Unless it's something that uh, maybe a holistic doctor has prescribed or something that is safe. I guess what I would do if I had a child with Morgellons is I would try to do the tub treatments for them in the Epsom salt. Like I said, but just use a small amount, and then um, I would try to maybe keep their skin, their body covered in some kind of maybe coconut oil or something that is safe, something that they won't react to, uh, or they won't have like a reaction to, something that would help pull, something that would pull the Morgellons out, but would still uh, be easy. It would be delicate on their skin, and it wouldn't cause a lot of pain or burning or stinging for them. If your child comes to you and tells you, well, I got bugs in my head, or there's things are crawling around in my head, or they're stinging or biting on my body and stuff, huh? Then it may be possible for you to start the Epsom salt treatments for them, and you also need to treat their head, their scalp. If you can't but if that might be hard to do because a lot of kids may not want to lay down in the bathtub and soak their head, so you might have to use maybe something else for their scalp. And I would recommend coconut oil or maybe olive oil, um, something that would penetrate the skin and pull the Morgellons out. But and maybe some types of essential oils, but I wouldn't use anything strong. I mean, you couldn't use anything like peppermint or anything like that on a child, or um, maybe lavender, something that doesn't burn. I don't know. Honestly, I have not treated any children with Morgellons, so I'm not going to give advice to parents about how to treat their children with Morgellons. Like I said, I can make suggestions. Um, your child, and every individual case is different. That it's not like treating an adult. So, um, like I said, I would do the light Epsom salt baths. Maybe keep their scalp saturated with some kind of oil, like coconut oil, or maybe almond oil, or grapeseed oil. Or you'd have to keep something in their scalp all the time to remove the fungus from the scalp. But you don't have to keep. You don't want to keep so much in it that they walk around with a greasy head. But enough to where the scalp will be uh, the scalp will be covered, and it'll keep the fungus um, from embedding down in the scalp. Like I said, I wouldn't give them anything internal. I guess I don't know if I'd give them essential oils internally, and I don't know about giving them I don't think I'd give them the bentonite clay because I don't know. Being a child, I don't know how they react to that. Maybe okay to give a child the Ken's Morgellons smoothie because that's like just buttermilk and bananas and yogurt, so that'd be safe for them. And that you could also use the gel on the skin because that'll pull it out, and that's something safe that they can drink and put on the skin. Okay, I'm just kind of playing it by ear here. I don't really know what to suggest for the children. Okay, I would just say as a parent, use your better judgment. You know your child. If you do want to use any of the more uh, extreme measures, make sure you test it on the child first. Um, yeah, hey, this is This is a delicate situation with the children. And it's going to be bad if all the children start breaking out with Morgellons, because we're all going to be in a situation where we're not going to know what to do, you know. Because you have to be careful with the children, and it's the same with the elderly. Okay, with the elderly, you have to treat the elderly just like you would a child, because all of the elderly, they all have their own individual health problems. And you have to know their health problems. You have to know the things that they're allergic to. You have to know um, what their routine is. You have to know. You have to be real careful with the elderly, like you would a child. And also the elderly, they cannot withstand that daily Epsom salt treatment in the bathtub, because their skin is so delicate and so easy to tear and bruise and scratch. So the elderly will not be able to withstand the daily treatments of Epsom salt. They just won't, you know. And a lot of them, most of them cannot get in the bathtub anyway. They have to have the walk-in showers. So, but if you do have an elderly person that can get in the bathtub, or you can help them get in the bathtub, that can do the Epsom salt treatments, then I would recommend that for them. But they wouldn't be able to do it every day. It would be too much for them. And as far as their scalp, you would have to do the same for them as you would a child. Maybe keep their scalp lightly coated with coconut oil or some kind of oil, and maybe give them the Cancer Morgellons smoothie for internal cleanse. Um, you can use the coconut oil on externally, because I know I've done that. I've used the coconut oil on my Morgellons patients. With the elderly, you can rub the coconut oil on their skin, and the coconut oil will help pull the fungus and everything out of their skin. And also, we know that the clay, the bentonite clay, you can use that. That's safe enough to use externally on the elderly. Uh, and if you're going to use it on the children, I would test it first and make sure they didn't have allergic reaction to it. But you can use the clay on their bodies for externally removing it. And also, we know that the tannin oil removes it, and all kind of things. The dirt. I mean, you might not want to use the dirt, but dirt will remove Morgellons. Um, there's all kind of things you can use on the elderly, and maybe the children, that you wouldn't normally use. Um, that you wouldn't normally use on them, you know, because it's just a sensitive situation when it comes to the children and the elderly. So this is just a few suggestions. Like I said, I'm not giving advice on how to treat your children and the elderly for Morgellons. I'm just making suggestions. Like I said, I do have some patients, elderly patients that I work with that do have Morgellons, and that's what I do for them. I do not try to give them the strenuous Epsom salt treatments every day. I might give them maybe once a week, and then I'll coat their skin with coconut oil or olive oil or whatever they have on hand, and just try to help them deal with the symptoms, okay? If you do the Epsom salt baths and your child breaks out with sores all over their body, and I pray to God that doesn't happen, okay? I personally don't feel like a child will break out with the sores, because usually the sores come in the cases where the Morgellons has been really, really building up in the body for a long time, and it's embedded deep within the pores of the skin. So I don't feel like a child would probably break out with the sores. But if they do, okay, just be careful and try not to say anything that's going to upset them or give them anxiety or panic attacks. And you certainly wouldn't want to try to explain to the child that they have Morgellons. Like this lady said, she said, I'm just going to treat it like it's eczema, you know, and if the child has any questions, just tell them, you know, this is what the doctor said to do, you know, we're going to do this. And like I said, if they do break out in sores, just try to explain to the child this is part of the healing process. It's okay. It will heal up and it will go away, okay? Um, Make sure that you just try to not say anything that will upset the child or the elderly person. You definitely cannot tell an elderly person that they have Morgellons. No way. They're not going to believe it. They're not going to understand it. They're just going to think you're crazy, okay? They don't know. They've never heard of it. They don't know anything about it. So you would have to treat them like a bad case of eczema or something. But I would never try to, unless they are, you know, really, really fully alert. And if it's somebody who's elderly, but they still got their life together, they can still do for themselves, and they can still take care of themselves, they can bathe themselves. If somebody like that, yeah, it's okay, and you know they're going to understand. But if it's somebody who is dependent on somebody else for their care, somebody who no longer can take care of their daily needs, no, you cannot. You can't explain something like Morgellons to somebody like that. They're not going to understand you, and all you're going to do is end up putting them in fear and panic. So, like I said, each case is different. You have to know the individual and their health care needs and their situation before you make the decision to try to explain something like Morgellons to them, or before you try to do any kind of extraneous treatment with them. I mean, it's spreading. There are children getting it. There are more elderly people getting it. And I'm doing what I can to help the elderly. I do not know any children that have it, but apparently there are some who are coming down with Morgellons now. I know I had one comment from one lady who said that her and her daughter and I think all three of them had Morgellons, both her children and herself, and that they were being treated for eczema. And she was asking me some questions. So I told her about the Epsom salt treatments. Um, I don't, but I'm really, really, really leery about giving advice for children, okay, and elderly. Um, so all I would say is if you have a child who has Morgellons, or if you have an elderly person who has Morgellons, just play it by ear, okay? Know their situation, know their health care needs, get to know that individual before you start treating them, okay? Talk to them and find out what they can handle and what they can't, okay? Treat it with caution. Be careful, okay? Just be careful. And wow, I just hope that this doesn't become a worldwide outbreak and we just start seeing children and elderly everywhere with Morgellons. I pray to God that doesn't happen, because if it does, we're gonna have a disaster on our hands, folks, because it's not going to be easy when you start treating young children and elderly with Morgellons. It's not going to be easy. You know, they can't handle the things that we can handle. They can't. Okay, that's just some suggestions, and I'm going to do some research, and I'm going to talk to some people, and if I witness any cases of any children, young children with Morgellons, and I find out any new information about what the parents are doing, I will share it with y'all in case you have any children who have it. In the meantime, just pray about it, stay heart-centered, and ask God for guidance and direction, and just use your gut and your intuition, okay? That's all for now, folks. I love you guys.